StraightallDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Today let's talk about basic professionalism. And this topic is related to an experience I had going to a fast casual, what they call it, restaurant called Chipotle. Oh, y'all heard of Chipotle. So Chipotle sells like burritos and bowls and stuff like that, right? So Chipotle's main things that Chipotle sells is like rice, chicken, steak, beans, generally, right? So Chipotle, I hadn't gone there. So let me back up. I usually take a walk. I take my son on a walk like every day, a couple times a day. So on Sundays, I take a walk that takes me right past a Chipotle. And even though I get a meal delivery service 6 days a week, on Sunday I don't get the meals delivered. So I get food from other places. So I try stuff out on Sunday. So sometimes on Sunday I just get Chipotle because I walk right past the Chipotle on Sunday. And I had not gone there for a couple of months because the last time I had been there a few months ago, they tried to short me on the protein because I usually order a double, like 1 scoop of chicken and 1 scoop of steak in my bowl, and it looked like they were shorting me on the meat. And then I said it to the woman who was there, and I believe she was the manager, or at least she appeared to have like some authority. And she said, well, we would have to charge you extra if we give you more meat. And I'm like, yo, y'all didn't give me the right amount. And she said, yeah, that's the right amount. I didn't argue with her. I left and I didn't go to Chipotle. I took my business elsewhere for a few months. So then I decided after a few months, I read this article. Actually, here's what happened. I read an article where the Chipotle manager, apparently, I wasn't the only one who had this issue, that Chipotle was shorting people on the protein, or at least we felt like they were, customers. And the Chipotle, like not the manager, but like one of the executives, he said, we have done retraining on a bunch of our stores and a bunch of our staff to let them know, hey, this is how much meat people get when they order it. And we never told them to stop giving people the right amount of meat. I don't know why that was happening with the staff, but they were getting a lot of complaints. So that was his response. And this was a news story that had come out. So I saw that and I said, okay, all right, I'll give Chipotle another chance. So I go to Chipotle. I'm recording this on a Sunday, right? So last Sunday I went to Chipotle. The store opens at 10:45 a.m. There's a sign right on the door, 10:45 a.m. 10:45, I'm standing outside, try to open the door. Door's not open. Now, doors are glass. You can see the people inside, like milling around, I guess, getting ready for the store to open. 10:45, door's not open. I figured, all right, they'll be there in a minute. Because in the past, I had been there as the first customer, and someone would come and unlock the door and say, hey, how you doing? And I would come in and I'd be the first customer. Nobody came to the door. I waited a couple minutes. Now it's like 2 other people standing there waiting with me, like a Uber Eats guy and another customer. We're all standing at the front door. Nobody comes in. Nobody comes to open the door. It gets to like 10:50, so they're 5 minutes late. I try to open the door again. Nobody opens it. And now I can see the people inside. They're kind of standing there, and I'm gesturing towards the door like, yo, what are y'all doing? And one of the women points to a door on the side. She like comes to the side door. And I'm like, why the hell didn't none of y'all say nothing? Y'all all standing there. Y'all see us standing out here. So I go to the side door. I come inside. And as soon as I walk in, and you know Chipotle, there's a bunch of people working. There's like 8 people in there working. As soon as I walk in, I'm like, yo, don't y'all see us standing out there? And nobody says anything. The workers are all just looking at me. And the woman doesn't even say anything. I'm like, and she kind of sort of started saying something. I'm like, yo, don't you see me standing out there? And she didn't really have anything to say. She was like, yeah, we just had you come inside, whatever. So I go order. As I told you, I order a double, chicken and steak. So the guy who's working the count, the little assembly line, he says, oh, well, we got the chicken, but the steak's not ready. So I said, how long is the steak? Now, mind you, I'm the first customer of the day. They're supposed to open at 10:45. At this point, it's like 10:52. How do you not have steak ready for the first customer when your main steak is one of your main products? He turns around and says to the guy on the grill, yo, how long on the steak? The guy on the grill, I can see him. He's just throwing the steaks on the grill. So the steak, for whatever reason, wasn't even ready. They didn't even cook the steak yet. He's just now throwing the steak on the grill. So the guy says something back to him, and the guy who's making the bowl turns around and says, hey, it's going to be 10 minutes on the steak. And I'm like, how the hell y'all 10 minutes late on the steak? I'm saying, y'all just open. I say that to him. He doesn't really have an answer because he's just an employee. He doesn't know anything. So I'm like, all right, just give me double chicken. So I just got double chicken last week. I leave, whatever. I'm like, all right, Chipotle, I didn't go to y'all for months because y'all are messing up one way. Now I come back, y'all mess up in 2 different ways that have nothing to do with the thing that I stopped coming for. So anyway, I go back to Chipotle today, 10:45. It's a little bit after 10:45. It was like 10:47 by the time I get to the door. I try to open the front door. I'm locked. Again, people inside. But now, since I remember what happened last time, I don't even bother waiting or gesturing toward the door. I just walk over to the side door. So I walk over to the side door and just walk in. All right. And when I walked in, there was an employee standing there at the register. It apparently, I don't know what it was. I think maybe that door is there not for customers to come in, but it's already after 10:45. So the restaurant is not open. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? It appeared, when I walked in, the way I saw a couple of the workers look at me, because there was one person standing at the register. There's another person standing at the assembly line. Again, there are no customers in there, so they're just standing there doing nothing. And there's a couple people back at the grill, and they ain't really doing anything. And there's people working like the pickup orders, like the Uber Eats and the DoorDash. And they all see me walk in, and just by the expressions on their faces when I walked in, I think they seemed kind of surprised that a customer would just walk in like that. Nobody said anything, but it seemed like they were surprised. Like they were just taking their time to open the front door, like the main door for people to come in. But it's already at the 10:45. So anyway, I didn't say anything about that. I walk in, another customer, this white guy, he walks in right behind me. So he gets in line right behind me. So as I'm standing at the assembly line, somebody comes over to the assembly line finally to take my order and all that. And I'm like, I told him what I wanted, the chicken and the steak. And I'm like, do y'all have steak? Because I'm looking at the thing. I can see the chicken. I can't see the steak. I'm like, do you have steak? He was like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, how do y'all not have steak? You just opened. Again, same question I asked last week. So he says, let me check. He calls back to the grill guy who's 10 feet away. The grill guy says something. They're talking in Spanish. So the grill guy walks away, comes back. They do have steak. He just didn't have it out. It wasn't ready. The steak wasn't in the, when you go to Chipotle, you can see all the stuff. The steak wasn't there. So the guy at the grill just hadn't put the steak out, and the guy working the assembly line hadn't even checked on the steak. Again, how are you just standing there doing nothing, and you don't even have your station ready to do your job? Makes no sense to me. So anyway, that happens. Guy comes out with the steak. He chops up some steak. He puts it in a little bowl. Guy gets me. He makes my bowl exactly what I want. Now again, the same two things happened this week that happened last week. Number one, the door wasn't open on time. Number two, they didn't have any steak ready. So when I get to the front, not the front, but the end of the assembly line I'm paying, I say to the woman, who's the manager? She turns around and calls to some Latin guy. And the Latin guy comes up and he said, hey, sir, what's up? And I said, I said, you're the manager? And he says, yeah. And I said, well, I came here last week, and the same thing that happened last week is happening this week. Number one, y'all not open on time. And number two, y'all didn't have steak ready. And he didn't really have anything to say. So he just basically says, yes, sir, I understand, sir. Sorry, sir, or something like that. He's not really saying anything. And I can tell he didn't really give a damn. You know how you got to, I'm not saying how you got to be, but you know how when you go to retail businesses and the manager doesn't really care. They just want you to go away and leave them alone. And they kind of pay lip service. So he's just like, yeah, sorry, sir, I understand. But he's not really giving a damn, and he's not going to do anything. I know he's not going to do anything. Which only makes it more annoying for the customer, because you're really trying to get a point across. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm really trying to get a point across. And he keeps saying the same thing. And I'm like, I said, well, are you going to do anything about this? I said, I came here last week. You had the same problem that you had this week. And he says the same thing over again. Like, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I'm like, are you going to do anything about this? And he says, my name is whatever his name is, some Latin name that I couldn't even understand what he was saying. Humberto, whatever his name is. He said, my name is whatever if you want to file a report. And I'm like, what? I asked him to say it again. He says it again. And by this time, he's kind of like walking further away as we're having this conversation. And all the workers are all looking at me. They're all looking at me. So it's like 8 people in Chipotle working. Again, I'm the first customer, so it's not like it's packed and busy. And I'm talking to him, and he's talking, and he's like, you want to file a report? My name is whatever. So like, I can tell on him whatever I guess he's saying. And I'm like, well, I'm giving a report to you. You're the boss, right? I said, you're in charge of this place, aren't you? And he's kind of like not even really answering the question, because obviously he's not used to being challenged the way that I'm challenging him, because he's the manager. So he is in charge of these people. Nobody there can tell him anything, but I'm telling him something. And I'm like, well, dude, I'm giving a report to you. You're the boss, ain't you? And he's not really saying anything. And he doesn't have anything to add to the conversation or to appease me. So I'm like, yo, these bum-ass motherfuckers. I just said that out loud, paid for my food, and left. Now, I'm sharing all that to say this. In business, ladies and gentlemen, even if you don't have people working for you, if you have shitty processes and you have standards that are not being upheld in your business, you're going to have a whole lot of garbage going on that you don't want happening, because your customers, most customers who come to businesses, and I'm not just talking about Chipotle's and Walmart's, I'm talking about people who buy stuff from you on your website, people who buy your products, people who get into your coaching programs and come to your events. Most customers are not like me. In other words, they are not going to call you out. They're not going to tell you exactly what happened. And even if they do say something, they won't be able to articulate exactly what their problem is. I can articulate what the issue is and why it was wrong. Like, even if you weren't there with me, you can understand exactly what I'm explaining, right? I'm not being a jerk about it. I'm not trying to cause a scene. I'm just making my point. I am willing to do that, and I'm able to do that. Most of your customers are either not able to do it or they're unwilling to do it, which means, you know what most customers do? When they're disappointed with an experience with a person, they say nothing. They don't say anything. They don't tell you what the issue is. They just don't spend any more money with you. And you're losing customers, and you don't even know why you're losing customers because your customers don't tell you anything. This is why you got to be very, very, very thorough in looking at your own processes and making sure things are being run the right way by your websites, by your customers, by your team, by your staff, and by you. And I would suggest, if you have the type of business where this is possible, you need to shop your own business. Shopping your business is a term in the retail space, which means you go in your business as if you were a customer, as long as the workers don't know who you are, or you send somebody who doesn't know who they are, and you actually go through the process as if you're a customer, so you can see if the process is being worked the right way. So it's kind of like you have phone lines to be answered, and there's a script for people to answer the phone. There's certain things they're supposed to say. You call and pretend to be a customer and see if the people answering your phones are following the script the right way. You'll often find that they're not even following the script that they're supposed to be following, because nobody's checking on them and nobody's holding them accountable to the process. Or you just don't have a clean enough process to where people even know what their job is supposed to be. So Chipotle is making this mistake. They're not the only one. A whole bunch of businesses make this mistake. I'm using them as an example here. And Chipotle is convenient for me to get to based on the situation that I told you. And Chipotle is relatively cheap. Their prices have gone up over the years significantly, but it's still relatively cheap compared to everybody else. Despite all of that, I'm not going back to Chipotle until or unless they make remedy for this trashy experience that I've had the last 2 times that I went there. On principle alone, I won't go back there. And these are the things you need to understand, because your customers are making these same decisions, but they won't talk about it, and you will never know that this is the decision that they made, and you'll never know why, because they won't tell you. So if you don't know, you're just losing business and you don't even know why. That's a problem. You don't want that to happen to you. So check your processes, check your systems, make sure they're being run the right way. Make sure you're holding yourself and your team accountable for how things are supposed to go. And if there is no supposed to go, then you need to make that. All right. And all of that I can help you with in Work on Your Game University. These are for those of you who are serious about your business and making sure that things work the right way, in process, the way it's supposed to go. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all